Not any special one. There was a little girl that I was.
Elvis Presley. For nearly 50 years, Graceland remained a monument trapped in time, forever paying tribute to Elvis Presley, the legendary king of rock and roll. Millions journeyed through its corridors, marveled at the iconic rhinestone-studded jumpsuits, and left heartfelt tributes at his grave. But high above those bustling halls, behind a door that remained sealed for decades, lay a part of the mansion no one dared to enter. Locked away like a historical vault, the attic had remained untouched. Until now. In 2025, for the first time, that attic door creaked open. What was found inside shocked even the most seasoned archivists. Among the stacks of memorabilia and forgotten relics, something deeply unsettling emerged. It wasn't just old vinyl records or yellowing letters. What was discovered was intimate, human. The real mystery wasn't merely what was uncovered, but who it was about. This discovery would force the world to revisit the day the music truly died. On August 16, 1977, Elvis Presley was found unresponsive in his private bathroom inside Graceland, the estate he had once deemed his personal haven. He was swiftly transported to the hospital, but the news the world dreaded soon followed. The king was gone, dead at just 42. Initial medical reports cited cardiac arrhythmia, suggesting his heart had simply failed. But fans and experts alike sensed something wasn't right. An uneasiness lingered. Further examination during the autopsy revealed signs of extensive and long-term prescription drug use. Then came a bizarre twist. Dr. Jerry Francisco, who had not been involved in the official medical examination, publicly claimed that drugs played no part in Elvis's passing. The statement was met with disbelief from the medical field. Many saw it as a calculated move to safeguard the late star's public image. Eventually, the toxicology results surfaced, and they painted a horrifying portrait. Elvis's body had been overwhelmed by a cocktail of potent medications including Dilaudid, Quaaludes, Percodan, Demerol, and codeine, well beyond therapeutic limits. The revelation sent shockwaves through his fan base. How could this have happened? Who had allowed such rampant over-medication? And more hauntingly, what secrets might have been locked away in that attic for nearly half a century? Could it have contained clues, perhaps even evidence, about what truly led to Elvis's downfall? Then came the entry of a familiar name. Dr. George Nichopoulos, better known across the globe as Dr. Nick. Between 1975 and 1977, Dr. Nick had written prescriptions for over 8,000 doses of drugs for Elvis Presley. The medications ranged from painkillers and sedatives to amphetamines. His name appeared again and again. When the authorities began to probe, Dr. Nick didn't deny his involvement. Instead, he stood firm, arguing that he was employing a strategy of harm reduction. In his view, Elvis was already dependent on dangerous substances, and the only way to keep him from turning to unregulated street drugs was to monitor and control his intake through legal prescriptions. Surprisingly, a jury accepted his rationale and acquitted him of any direct involvement in Elvis's death. Yet the scrutiny didn't fade. By 1980, new investigations emerged, this time looking into his prescribing habits with other celebrities, including Jerry Lee Lewis. Eventually, in 1995, the Tennessee Board of Medical Examiners took decisive action, revoking his medical license permanently, citing a consistent and dangerous pattern of overprescribing. Years later, in 2020, a significant twist entered the narrative. Author Sally A. Hodel released a provocative book titled Destined to Die Young. Her central claim? That Elvis didn't perish due to addiction, but rather because of a cluster of hereditary heart conditions and chronic health problems that were masked by his use of medications. According to her, Elvis wasn't recklessly self-destructive. He was trying to cope with overwhelming physical pain in the only way he knew how. If her claims are true, Then what did the Presley family know all along? And more importantly, what were they guarding in that attic for nearly 50 years? Was it a secret so personal, so shattering, that it had to remain hidden from the world until now? I did it my way. The lyrics seemed to echo through Memphis in the wake of Elvis Presley's death. The very next day, grief swept through the city like a tidal wave. Over 100,000 fans gathered at the gates of Graceland, longing to bid farewell to their idol. His body, adorned in a white suit and blue shirt, lay in repose for a public viewing, an image burned into the memory of all who were there. On August 18, 1977, the funeral began. 17 pristine white Cadillacs rolled solemnly through Memphis, forming a royal procession befitting the king of rock and roll. Among the mourners were stars such as James Brown, Sammy Davis Jr., Caroline Kennedy, and members of Elvis's own family, Priscilla, Lisa Marie, and Vernon Presley. He was laid to rest beside his beloved mother, Gladys Presley, at Forest Hill Cemetery. However, peace was short-lived. Just 2 days later, a chilling incident rocked the family. A group of individuals attempted to steal Elvis's casket in an apparent extortion plot. Though the culprits were caught and only charged with trespassing, the threat was clear. Even in death, Elvis was a target. Fearing further disturbances, Vernon Presley made a drastic choice. He had both Elvis and Gladys quietly reinterred at Graceland, within the serene meditation garden the king had designed himself. From that moment forward, the estate transformed. Doors were bolted, rooms closed off, and most notably, the attic was sealed indefinitely. But why? Grave theft explains security. But why restrict the attic, far removed from any burial site? What could possibly justify such secrecy? In 1957, a 22-year-old Elvis Presley, already a cultural phenomenon, purchased a stately mansion just outside Memphis. The price? $102,500, equivalent to nearly $1 million today. The home already bore its name, Graceland. Rather than rename it, Elvis embraced it wholeheartedly. It became his palace, his retreat, and his wonderland. The estate featured expansive barns, stables, rolling pastures, and even a famously mischievous pet chimp named Scatter. Elvis delighted in dressing the chimp in clothes and orchestrating pranks that left guests both amused and bewildered. By 1964, he constructed the Meditation Garden, a peaceful sanctuary with fountains, flowers, and pristine white columns. Here, Elvis would often sit for hours, contemplating life and the immense weight of his stardom. Ironically, that very garden would later become his final resting place. Yet, following Elvis's death in 1977, something even more curious happened. The entire second floor of Graceland, his private quarters, was permanently closed. Even when Graceland opened to the public in 1982, the upstairs remained strictly off-limits. Not even dignitaries or world leaders were permitted entry. And hidden above that forbidden level, the attic. There were no photographs, no records, only silence. What made this space so secret that even the Presley family acted like it didn't exist? And why, only now, has it finally been revealed? In 2024, Elvis Presley's legacy faced a crisis that few could have imagined. A company operating under the name Nosen Investments and Private Lending LLC suddenly attempted to auction off Graceland. Their claim? That Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter and current heir, had defaulted on a loan using the property as collateral. The notion was staggering. How could the most revered landmark in American music be on the brink of disappearing into private hands? As trustee of the Promenade Trust, which owns Graceland, Riley took swift action. She filed a lawsuit, declaring the alleged loan a sham. According to court filings, the documents had been forged. part of a scheme to profit from her family's name and legacy. This ordeal nearly dismantled everything. Yet through the controversy, it also reignited global interest in Elvis and Graceland. It made the world pay attention once again, and as a result, that long-ignored attic door was finally opened. Inside, among the dust and forgotten relics, was a story that might change how the world remembers Elvis Presley forever. Just hours before the gavel was set to fall on the auction of Graceland, a Tennessee judge made a dramatic intervention. The court stepped in at the 11th hour, halting the sale entirely. In his decision, the judge referred to Graceland as a singular cultural treasure, asserting that losing it would inflict irreversible damage on the public's collective heritage. Oddly, neither Riley Keough's legal team nor anyone representing Nosany Investments showed up for the court hearing. The judge's order went unopposed, and Graceland was spared, at least for now. But this surreal turn of events left one lingering, unsettling question. What if the court hadn't acted in time? What if a private collector had taken ownership of Elvis Presley's most iconic estate? Could they have invaded the attic, unveiled its hidden contents, and uncovered secrets the Presley family never intended for the world to see? In the year 2025, almost 5 decades after Elvis Presley's passing, the long-shut attic door of Graceland was finally opened. There were no flashing cameras or breaking news headlines, only a quiet, almost reverent moment. Graceland's archivists stepped into a time capsule, a room that hadn't been disturbed since Elvis's death in 1977. What awaited them was nothing short of extraordinary. Dust-covered boxes lined the walls, frozen relics of a bygone era. Inside were handwritten lyrics scrawled across napkins and tattered notebook pages. Never-before-seen photographs capturing private, tender snapshots of a life lived in the spotlight. And personal letters, some deeply romantic, others drenched in sorrow. Among the treasures were unopened fan letters, vintage concert posters, rare stage costumes, and even a few toys from Elvis's childhood in Tupelo. One item stood out, a worn leather jacket. Stuffed in its pocket was a haunting note. Wear this when you need to disappear. It was eerie and intimate, a whisper from the past, hinting that Elvis may have longed to escape the crushing weight of fame. Among these emotional artifacts was a small, unmarked box simply labeled Practice Sessions 1976. Inside were reel-to-reel tapes untouched for nearly 50 years. What these recordings captured brought the entire room to a standstill. These weren't polished studio tracks. They were raw, emotional sessions of Elvis, alone, experimenting freely. He played with gospel hymns, soulful blues, and even dabbled with early synthesizers. Sounds that hinted at a future he never had the chance to explore. But one recording stood above the rest. It was a stripped-down, achingly beautiful rendition of Unchained Melody. No instruments, no backup vocals, just Elvis's voice, weathered and vulnerable, pouring every ounce of feeling into the song. Recorded just months before his death, it felt more like a confession than a performance. A farewell rendered in fragile notes and heartfelt tones. Elsewhere in the attic, archivists unearthed a mountain of unopened fan mail. Preserved in their original envelopes, many letters came from soldiers serving abroad, grieving families, aspiring musicians, and lifelong fans. One particularly chilling letter was dated 1976. It was a heartfelt plea from admirers begging Elvis to cancel his tour for the sake of his deteriorating health. The letter may never have reached his hands. Was it misplaced? Ignored? Or was it simply too late, lost in the overwhelming noise of stardom and schedule? Not every item found was destined for a display case. Some were simple, deeply personal mementos that reflected a man far removed from the global icon. a tattered teddy bear from his boyhood days in Tupelo, a Bible lovingly gifted by his mother Gladys, its pages dog-eared and marked with heartfelt annotations, and a high school yearbook filled with handwritten messages and innocent doodles from classmates, all told the story of Elvis Aaron Presley before the fame engulfed him. These weren't just keepsakes, they were echoes of the boy behind the legend. Lisa Marie Presley once said, "It's comforting. I can come here any time and rummage through the boxes." That simple remark captured the attic's true essence. It wasn't just a storage space. It was a sanctuary, a private archive where father, son, and human beings still lingered in fabric, paper, and memory. Through these rediscovered relics, something remarkable happened. The larger-than-life persona of Elvis the superstar gave way to a more human, vulnerable figure. The legend faded into the background, replaced by someone far more real, complex, and relatable. But now that we've glimpsed the man behind the myth, one question remains. Can the world ever see Elvis Presley the same way again? It's funny, I can't really see you all. I can only see the first row here. That offhand remark from Elvis still echoes through pop culture. From the moment his death was announced in August 1977, the public struggled to accept it. Conspiracy theories blossomed almost immediately. Some claimed he was spotted at Memphis International Airport the very next day, using the alias John Burroughs, a name Elvis had allegedly used before. Others swore they saw him ordering fast food at a Burger King in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Books were written, some fictional, some sensational. One, titled Orion, paralleled Elvis's life eerily and ended with a staged death. Then came mysterious recordings of a voice that sounded uncannily like Elvis, a voice talking, singing, even describing a life in hiding. Many of these were dismissed as hoaxes or impersonators. Still, the belief endured, even well into the 2020s. One particularly viral theory insists that Elvis now lives quietly as a preacher named Bob Joyce, despite stark differences in age and appearance. For many fans, it's more comforting to believe Elvis escaped the crushing fame than to accept that he died broken and exhausted. With the attic now unlocked, some find peace in the newly discovered letters, recordings, and artifacts. But for others, the mystery only deepens. If something this intimate stayed hidden for nearly 50 years, what other secrets might still lie buried in the shadows of Graceland? The truth is, Elvis Presley was never just a performer. He became a symbol of American culture. Holding more RIAA gold and platinum certifications than any artist in history, selling over 500 million records, starring in iconic Hollywood films, and reshaping music forever, he wore the crown of rock and roll and carried the burden that came with it. In 2018, he was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, cementing his legacy as more than an entertainer. And yet, in 2025, we're still discovering who he truly was. Through dusty boxes, lost letters, forgotten recordings, and childhood toys, we're reminded that Elvis was not just a mythic figure. He was a man with fears, doubts, love, and a longing to be understood. Graceland's attic didn't just store memorabilia, it held the essence of a soul the world never stopped mourning. What other secrets remain hidden in the shadows of Graceland? Were you surprised by what they uncovered? Which items sent chills down your spine? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the next video for more remarkable stories from the world of music history.